Recently, the singer Davido was on a podcast in the United States, a global podcast, and he made a comment about Nigeria's economy being in shambles. And that comment has drawn a lot of reactions and responses. And one of the things that a few people are using to justify the comment is the value of the naira. And a lot of people don't understand the economics behind it. I'm going to try to explain it to you. When you use the value of the naira from the 80s under President Shagari, through the 90s under Abacha, and then to President Obasanjo, all the way to General Muhammadu Buhari, you're not doing the right thing, because the value of the naira then wasn't the accurate value. The naira was pegged. And because it was pegged, the naira was being defended monthly. We started in the 80s with about $200 million monthly, and then it grew to an astronomical amount under General Buhari of about $1.5 billion every month. So basically, we were subsidizing the naira. So all of that cheap dollars that we were getting is because the Central Bank of Nigeria was subsidizing the naira. And we weren't using that money to, just imagine if we were using $1.5 billion to provide infrastructure, to build roads, to build energy plants, to build hospitals, to build schools. Imagine where Nigeria would be now. And what were we using that money for? And please, you can fact check me. We're using that money to buy $75 million worth of French champagne, 25 million pounds of Scotch whiskey. We're spending the money on human hair. Women were spending about $200 million on human hair because the dollar was cheap. And what was happening is that people were not in manufacturing in Nigeria, so it was just cheaper to import. Things that we could make in Nigeria, like tomato paste, toothpick, pizza, even spring water, we were importing them. And so what the Tinubu administration has done is to stop that subsidy and to allow the naira float. So what we now have is a floated currency. Basically, a floated currency is that it is governed by the laws of demand and supply. So that's why the currency just suddenly devalued. It's not because of bad governance. It's actually a good thing. Now, you see what's happening because of that. Nigerians can no longer afford a lot of imported things. And what's the result of that? We're now producing and manufacturing those things in Nigeria. The Dangote tomato paste factory has now come back up in Kano. Why? Because we can no longer afford to import tomato paste from Italy. And so it's now affordable to manufacture in Nigeria and a number of other things. And that's why if you look at the NBS data, our GDP for the third quarter of 2024 was 4.36, higher than most countries. The United States had a GDP of the same period of 2.8. And then unemployment has reduced. According to NBS, unemployment in the second quarter is now 4.2. It's because of this. You got to understand that there is historical, precedence for this. During the Civil War, we were not importing again because a lot of people, there was just people who were importing largely in Lagos and in the coastal areas. They went back to Biafra. And so importation just crashed. And because importation crashed, what happened is that we saw people now manufacturing in the Lagos axis of Ikeja, Ijora, and we saw that in 1971, our GDP grew by 25.01, 1970 by 24%, but 1969, it grew by 24%. That was the highest GDP growth rate that Nigeria has ever had, and you can cross-check me. So our economy is in good hands. I know that, yes, you want to see cheap things. You want to see the naira regain its value. If you want to do that, then you've got to be like me. You've got to dress in made in Nigeria attire, made in Nigeria fabric. You got to buy made in Nigeria products. As I go out, yes, I live abroad, but everything I wear when I go out, and you guys see the proof, is made in Nigeria. Not only that, you got to invest in Nigeria. You got to send money back to Nigeria. And now, for those of us in the diaspora, it's now very, positive for us, because with the value of the naira now, it pays for us to send our foreign currency to Nigeria. And we're seeing that. You see, we see that non-oil exports in Nigeria, for the first time since, I think, since about the 80s, but it's only happened 3 times in Nigeria. We now have non-oil exports now topping oil exports. Why? Because manufacturing is up. Because it's profitable to manufacture in Nigeria. I think just that 2 days ago, JS, they are the biggest meat processor in the whole world. They're investing $2.5 billion in Nigeria. That's it. So whenever you have a global opportunity to speak about Nigeria, don't say negative things about Nigeria. First of all, our economy is not in shambles, but just even for the sake of argument, assuming it is true, it is not you that will be telling people that our economy is in shambles, be projecting Nigeria. No. You see, effective rebranding of a country happens when positive things about the country are projected. My name is Reno Omakiri. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.